Islamic State terrorists auctioning women prisoners. Younger the women, higher the price.
$50 for Aisha. $100 for Aisha.
The evil has no limits. Barbaric executions in the town square like in the Middle Ages. Each killing meant to shock you to the core. The latest video shows the executioner in a wheelchair. Children as young as 11 trained to kill without mercy. But the world has now united to wipe out the evil. Russia and the US leading the air war. Islamic State commanders are now increasingly retreating into Libya. But this war with evil is far from over. Jamelia is 15, Aisha 14, Sarah is all of 10 years old. They're all being auctioned at the ISIS slave market. This is in the dark ages. This is the 21st century in the month of January of 2016 at an ISIS slave market in Syria. Their horror has to be seen to be believed.
You've heard of the scary atrocities that terrorists in Iraq and Syria perpetrate on women. Take a look at these images closely, depicting the terrifying, well-organized sex slave supply chain that delivers captive girls to the world's most feared terror organization, the ISIS. The images you see may be part of a stage performance, but they disturbingly capture a reality that has shocked the world. Women from various ethnicities, religions and communities are subjected to atrocities, both for the sexual gratification of its fighters and also as an instrument of horror for the world to see. You have seen these images from a play. Now take a look at these images from a real sex slave market for the ISIS.
Aisha, 15 years old.
50!
$50 for Aisha. $100 for Aisha. $150.
And if for a moment you believe these images and accounts are too horrific to be real, remember the story of Yazidi woman Nadia Murad Basi, who shocked the United Nations with her terrifying story of sex slavery.
The Islamic State did not just come to kill our women and girls, but they took us as war booty, as merchandise to be exchanged. Serve as part of his military faction. He humiliated me every day. He forced me to wear clothes that didn't cover my body. I was tortured. 3 months after my abduction, I was finally able to escape.
What the world does not know is just how many women like Nadia are currently sexual captives of a monstrous brigade that continues to expand its influence in Syria and Iraq. The women are totally commodified in captivity, kept in cages, traded as currency, presented as gift to warriors, and the ISIS fighters spare no woman or girl. Accounts suggest girls as young as 10 are currently sex slaves of the Daesh. With survivors stepping forward to tell their stories, the world now has a truly horrifying picture of just what it's like to be a sex slave of the ISIS. Bureau Report, India Today.
But the threat is closer home. Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Assam, these are emerging as some of the ISIS recruitment centers in India. The threat is also closer home because of a video that has now emerged. 7 Indians undergoing training at an ISIS training camp in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region before they are launched in Syria and later tasked to come back to India and spread the same reign of terror. This is very, very dangerous.
Aiming their AK-47 assault rifles and 7.62mm light machine guns, these 9 men are undergoing training at an ISIS camp in the Afghanistan-Waziristan region. But not all 9 men in this video are from Syria. 7 of them are Indians who fled the country to fight for the Islamic State. Intelligence agencies say that these 7 men belong to the Ansar-ul-Tawhid for Hind, an offshoot of the Indian Mujahideen, which has pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. The training video is being used as propaganda by the ISIS to lure other young men in India. Titled Lions of India, the video, accessed exclusively by India Today, even identifies all men undergoing training, their names written in red in Urdu. The 9 men in the video are identified as Abu Lasis from Deccan, Abu Faisal from Saudi Arabia, Abu Ali from Afghanistan, Abu Muhammad from Uttar Pradesh, Abu Bashir from Uttar Pradesh, Abu Masaf from Karnataka, Abu Saeed from Karnataka, and Abu Humaira from Mumbai. This is the first time Indians fighting for the Islamic State have been named and shown in a propaganda video. It also shows how trained ISIS militants are being sent from Kandahar in Afghanistan to unleash terror in India. And in a telling message, the video also shows the ISIS flag flying over the Red Fort in New Delhi. In another video released by the Ansar-ul-Tawhid for Hind, these men, whose faces have been masked, can be heard instigating Indians to join the ISIS. India Today has identified the voices in this video. The voice that you hear is of Sultan Abdul Qadir Armar, the man who used to head the Indian Mujahideen earlier. Originally from Bhatkal in Karnataka, Sultan Armar went missing with his brother 10 years ago. The man sitting in the center here is Sultan Armar. Intelligence agencies believe that Sultan died while fighting for the ISIS in Syria. The man sitting next to Sultan is his brother Safi Armar, who is now said to be the chief of the ISIS in India. With Arvind Ojha in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So in the ISIS training propaganda video, Abu Laziz or Abu Faisal, they're called Lions of India, and they show an ISIS flag atop the Red Fort. Let's now talk about the cubs of the caliphate. Some of these terrorists are as young as 12 years old, and they are trained to kill without mercy. There is a video that you'll see of a 12-year-old boy as he beheads a Syrian army officer. He's trained to kill, and he's not the only one.
It was just 15 minutes into the friendly football match between Germany and France at the National Soccer Stadium in Paris, when 2 loud explosions were heard outside. As news of the French capital being under siege spread, details emerged about the possible attacker at the stadium. Initial reports seemed to suggest that the attacker was a 15-year-old boy who had detonated a suicide vest after he was stopped from entering the stadium. Eyewitness details of attacks across Paris too seem to point at one thing, that several of the killers were extremely young, possibly just teenagers. If these reports are true, then ISIS's new recruiting technique, terrifying enough, seems to be working. ISIS propaganda films targeting Western teenagers comprise short clips resembling a cross between video games and action movie trailers. Propagated virally through social media, a ready hunting ground for young terror recruits. The propaganda also promises weapons, camaraderie and excitement. Publications such as the multilingual ISIS magazine Dabiq even emphasizes sexual opportunity either through marriage to another volunteer or rape. Called the cubs of the caliphate, ISIS's child killers have proven to be an increasingly common propaganda tool too. In July this year, a video of a boy no older than 10 years executing a Syrian army officer near the city of Palmyra went viral. In a display of trained precision, the boy approached the victim from behind and used a small knife to behead him. This was the first time ISIS had used a child to carry out a brutal beheading. But as the attacks in Paris go to show, the young cubs of caliphate are perhaps the biggest weapon in the ISIS armory.
ISIS does not pose a threat to any one country. The threat is global. The effort to counter the ISIS is global. Let's now take a look at how the United States, Russia, France, the coalition forces, they've mounted a massive air operation to take out Islamic State's assets, whether it's the oil dumps, its important bridges, or most important, their mints where they store their money. But the war is far from over.
On the 16th of January, this video exploded upon the world. What you're looking at is a massive cash depot of the Islamic State in Mosul, Iraq. Being blown to pieces by a pair of airdrop 2,000-pound bombs. Those white things you see fluttering are millions in currency notes, wiped out of the ISIS account in one devastating blow. Look closely, that's cash, millions of dollars worth, literally going up in flames. Cash stored to fund ISIS recruitment, trade and terror operations. The strike earlier this month coming as a big bang milestone in a relentless military campaign against the world's most ruthless terror organization. January is proving to be a bruising month for the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, with airstrikes by the US-led coalition managing to wipe out more than 6,400 Islamic State fighters in just the past 3 months, with the effects of the non-stop bombardment showing on the globally feared organization. India today now has access to brand new video footage from the aerial war on ISIS, newly declassified by the US-led coalition. 9 videos painting a devastating picture of the actual fight. "2016 began with this devastating aerial strike on a crucial ISIS bridge near Abu Kamal in Syria. The destruction of this bridge has destroyed the Islamic State's ability to use this route for oil smuggling and the movement of equipment and fighters within Syria and between Syria and Iraq. Four days later, on the 5th of January, US aircraft rained hell on a building in Ramadi in Iraq, a building housing several trained ISIS fighters. On New Year's Eve, a United States F-A-18 Super Hornet fighter aircraft tracked this ISIS assembly area before launching a precision bombing strike. Look closely. It levels it completely and ensures that the ISIS cannot even think of using it as a staging area for terror operations. One of the keys to containing the ISIS has been ensuring its access to illegal oil revenue is severely and urgently degraded. This video from the end of last month shows the main oil pump station near Deir az-Zawr in Syria being decimated with 2 laser-guided bombs deployed from a US Navy jet. Oil stations like this one have been destroyed across Syria and Iraq, but there are many more still in operation. One of the major challenges to containing the Islamic State is the devastating swiftness with which the ISIS recruits and trains warriors. This aerial bombing of a major training center of the ISIS in the Idlib province of Syria earlier in January is being hailed as a major achievement in the ongoing aerial campaign. As Iraqi ground forces moved in on Mosul in Iraq in December, the US air campaign first scouted and then struck down this ISIS fighting position. The destruction of this target in Iraq is said to further limit the group's ability to project terror and conduct operations in one of the strongest held areas in war-torn Iraq. As the ISIS continues to make grave use of improvised explosive devices for use not just in Iraq and Syria but also beyond, this dramatic surgical strike on an IED factory in Iraq on the 29th of December is being seen as crucial to incrementally destroying ISIS bomb-making infrastructure and the people it hires to make those bombs at an industrial scale. If you're wondering whether these aerial strikes are making a dent at all, consider the figures declassified by the US military this month. 6,400 ISIS terrorists are estimated to have been killed in just the last 3 months, averaging about 500 per week in US airstrikes. But there's still about 5 times that number still operating in Iraq and Syria. The numbers are still overwhelming. But take a look at this video of a suspected ISIS holding area with terrorists and equipment blown to pieces from the air on the 3rd of January. The most recent video of all from the 18th of January of vehicle bombs being prepared in Iraq by the ISIS, being meticulously scouted, tracked, locked and bombed into oblivion from the air. Nine mind-numbing video clips capturing the shattering military strength being unleashed from the air on one of the world's most dogged, ruthless and dangerous terror organizations. Bureau Report, India Today.
But experts warn the Islamic State is a hydra-headed monster that cannot be taken out just by air attacks. There are several who say boots have to be put on ground and de-radicalization efforts need to be undertaken across the world.